Good evening and welcome to the 12 February City Council meeting. I'd like to recognize all the VIPs in the audience, which is all of you. Thank you so much for coming. But if you would, silence your electronic devices, please, so we can have a quiet meeting. And if you would like to speak in front of the City Council, we ask that you fill out one of these little yellow doobers right outside the door and get to the city clerk, and then I'll call on you at the appropriate time. We always begin our meeting with invocation, and the individual this evening is no stranger to our city council many times, from the First United Methodist Church. Reverend Michael Precht, if you would lead us in invocation, we'd appreciate it, please. By the way, if you so choose, you could leave the room and come back in after the invocation.
Almighty God, creator and sustainer of us all, you have given many, many good gifts to this city. You have blessed us with the beauty of your creation that surrounds us. You have blessed us with the work of supporting one another and doing good in the world. You have blessed us with those who were born here and those who have moved here, the people who are made in your own image. And we pray now that in this time, you would make those who speak, those who listen, those who make decisions, good stewards of all these good gifts, that they may be for the upbuilding and the shalom that you desire for all you have made. We ask this now in the name of the one true God who made us and brings us all together. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. Would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance also? Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call on the council members to please sign in now. You know that all council members are present, as well as our city mayor, city clerk, city clerk. Sorry.
As opposed to a city town.
Please say I didn't call her Betsy Ross like I did one time. Our city clerk, our city attorney, and our esteemed department heads are all with us this evening. And the first thing we'll do is get action on the council to approve our agenda. I need action by the council, please.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Hayes.
motion to approve the agenda as stated.
Mr. President, so second.
Okay, motion second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? I would like to mention that two items have been pulled off the agenda. We're not adding anything to it, so we don't have to vote on adding anything, but we are pulling off the 12A, if you want to line through that. And 11B. Those two are gone. Excuse me? Oh, you're going to do that for 11B? Okay. 11B is on. There were two parts of 11B. That was 11B1 and 11B2, I guess. Okay, thank you. All right, all those in favor of the agenda as we've amended it? Please go to voting. Okay, the agenda is fine. Mr. Hayes,
Yes, sir.
I would like you to leave, please.
All right.
I would like you to go down in the front, is what I meant.
No, I thought you. I know you don't care for me that much.
Oh, come on, Mr. Hayes. I wanted to present something to Mr. Hayes. For those of you who don't know what emo is, it's not finding emo. It's the Institute for Elected Municipal Officials. What's the last one? Officials. Why would I not know that, huh? Anyway, there are different levels. I've been to level 1, although you would not know that. And there are 4 different levels. And this gentleman right here has gone through all 4 levels. Now, let me tell you the benefit of that. And that is, every time you go there, they have intensive training on different things that happen in your city. City government, city management, all kinds of things. Police departments, fire departments, medical marijuana. You mentioned, it's all discussed in these different training sessions. And every time the level gets a little higher, depending on how long you've been in the city. And obviously, Councilman Hayes has been a councilman for a while. He's up to level 4. And it's tough. I've been through the basic one and scraped by. So knowing that he's done level 4 is really good on him. And I wanted to present him the certificate sent to me by the Florida League of Cities and thank him for doing that. So you throw that down there. Thank you. Moving on to item 6, approval of minutes. Could I get action by the council, please?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Blocker.
I move to approve the minutes from the October 27, 2017 workshop meeting, November 23rd, 2017 council workshop, and January 8, 2018 council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and second to approve the minutes from the October 27, 2017 workshop meeting, November 23rd, 2017 council workshop, and January 2018 council meeting. Any discussion?
Mr. President, one.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
One
Hayes.
correction. On page 7 of the minutes,
Which minutes?
on the one from January 8th, 18, it'd be on page 87 of 79, and if you look at it online. But on page 7, it has where Miss Bridgerton gave resume has, and it should be as. Just a correction there.
Okay, grammatical correction.
Grammatical correction.
Take care of that, please.
One other thing, Mr. President.
Yeah, go ahead.
Looking at the minutes, I did not see where Mr. Cox made a request referencing the council did not receive gift cards. And I did not see anything making reference to that. You know, we did not accept gift cards for when they were given to employees, and I didn't see it reflected in the minutes.
I think I
Yes,
saw
it
that.
wasn't.
Huh?
It's on page 8.
It's
Yeah.
in there.
I saw it.
Page 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
You need to borrow my glasses?
No, I overlooked it. Okay, that's it, Mr. President.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, please go to voting. And the minutes are unanimously approved. We have no public hearings this evening, so we move to public opportunity on council propositions. Anything that's on the council agenda that you want to address, if you're in the audience, now would be the time to come in front of the council to address that. Anything that's on the council agenda. Anybody out there want to address anything on our agenda tonight? All right, that's gone. Number 9, consent agenda. Get action by the council on the consent agenda.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Blocker.
I move to approve the consent agenda, items A, B, C, and D.
Second.
We have a motion second to approve consent agenda A, B, C, and D. Any discussion? Please vote. And consent agenda has been approved unanimously. Resolution 10A, Resolution 18-07, out of city utility services.
Mr. President, Resolution 18-07 reads by title. A resolution by the City Council of Crestview, Florida, accepting a petition for out-of-city water service, establishing water service for property located at 929 East Edney Avenue also known as 21-3N-23-0000-0010-0020, Okaloosa County, Florida, allowing for written objections by citizens, and if necessary, a public hearing within 30 days from enactment of this resolution, providing for a municipal services agreement between the Commissioner of the city and providing for an effective date. This is Resolution 1807.
Okay, Ms. Teresa, would you
Okay.
explain it?
Yes, sir. This is simply a name change for the existing services that are utilized at 929 East Edney Avenue. As you know, we keep track of the new property owners so that they can sign a new municipal services agreement, so that at the time that they become contiguous, they will be allowed to annex into the city.
Any comments or questions? I would just make a comment. Appreciate you bird dogging those kind of things, because at one time we didn't do a real good job of doing that, and the property would change, and we would lose continuity there with where they would have to ever annex into the city, so I appreciate that. Okay, then I would like action by the council, please.
Mr. President,
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Parker.
I move to approve Resolution 18-07.
I have a motion, do I get a second?
I second, Mr. President.
Motion second to approve Resolution 18-07. Any discussion? Please vote. Five yeas and no nays. 10B, Resolution 18-08, sidewalks.
Mr. President, Resolution 18-08 reads by title. A resolution by the Crestview City Council, Florida, to continue to support construction of pedestrian facilities in the city of Crestview with transportation alternative program funding and providing for an effective date. This is Resolution 18-08.
Gentlemen, this is very similar to the resolution we had a few weeks ago. It shows the continued support of Crestview for the alternative funding for the transportation for the sidewalks, and these are we have been working very closely with Okaloosa County now, and we have a fairly good list of possible projects. And this just, like I say, it shows that the city is continuing to support construction of pedestrian facilities, and in so also utilizing the alternate funding. And I believe in TPO, y'all know that is TA. It's their sort of taking over things that were eligible under the TAP funding. So,
Comments, questions? I'll comment, and that is, what you're just saying is very important. You have three members of the Okaloosa Walton Transportation Planning Organization right up here, and it sends a message to them that the city's behind these kind of projects and helps them get those funded, so that's a good thing for us to do. Can I have action by the council, please?
Mr. President,
Now, go ahead, Mr. Plucker.
I move to approve Resolution 18-08 and forward to the city clerk and council president for signing.
Second.
That was a tie. You choose who seconded. It was a stereo. We have a motion second to approve Resolution 18-08. Any more discussion? Go to voting, please. And we have 5 yeses and 0 noes. 11A, presentation Christmas Parade Awards by Main Street Crestview.
My name is Paul Lowry. I'm the president of the Main Street Crestview Association, and we're here to do some awards for the Christmas parade.
You're not, you need to be on camera.
All right.
Microphone would be nice if you stepped forward.
Typically, we do this in one of the meetings in January. We had some technical difficulties in getting our awards, so we put it off until February, so we appreciate you coming out for that. We had over 90 participants this year in the parade. It was a very good parade. I think everybody enjoyed it. Weather was good. We held off the rain. We could not have pulled this off without all the help of a lot of volunteers. Mosaic Church, they stepped up in just a major way. They had over 80 hours of volunteer time that they provided to us, and we are so grateful for that. And have them for you, just the NOARC, Norfolk Lutheran Radio Club, amateur radio club. They are always out here for our events, the parades, the fall festival, and they're kind of our eyes and ears all up and down the street. If we need to talk to somebody at one end of the street, they're there. They're following us around. We greatly appreciate all the help that they provide. They also did about 80 hours of volunteer time. Main Street volunteers for judges, setup, etc. We had folks there 50 hours, and I think we're about 210 hours there total for all the volunteer help. That's not even close to the amount of hours that Sandra Wilson put in. As our program manager, she topped us all just by herself with all the hours that she put into orchestrating this and pulling this off for us. We're so grateful for everything that she's done. So I would like to give out a couple of awards. First, Tam, you come up and bring your help too. These folks from Mosaic, again, like I said, they put in 80 hours of helping us out. It was just tremendous. We greatly appreciate everything that you did to help us. They're really showing great support for our community, and I think we'll see a lot more of them. We greatly appreciate what you did. Thank you so much. And the Norfolk Lutheran Radio Club. Again, these folks are so helpful out here for everything that we do for Main Street. I know for the chamber with the Triple B, they've always helped out doing that as well. And we're just so appreciative of everything you do coming out and helping and being our eyes and ears on the street. And we couldn't pull it out off without you guys as well. Thanks a lot. Thank you. We're still getting the picture. Thank you, Brian. Flower. Appreciate you guys. I think that's it for those. Now we're ready for mayor. We'll give out our awards for the Christmas parade. And you call out. I will. Okay, we're starting off with the Civic School Youth Division, and our second place winners for that was the Rotary Club of Crestview. And their float was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. They were second place. Our first place winners was Northwood Elementary School with The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. And the next is our church and religious group. Our second place winner was the First Pentecostal Church, Keeping Christ in Christmas. Okay. Do we have anybody here in our commercial government, individual, second place winner was North Okaloosa Medical Center with Polar Express. That seemed to be a popular theme. There were several of Polar Express. Good folks, they took care of it. And first place winner for this group was the Colwell Banker Residential Real Estate, the Christmas Story. They were the flames that were going down the street. I don't think anybody's here for them.
Well, I just wanted to say how excited I was about the Christmas parade, and I especially want to thank Sandra. It's the first time she had a whole new crew, all first time we went out, and it went off very well. And to show you how serious we are about that Christmas parade, within a week after that parade, we had a big meeting. How can we improve? Do things better? How can we keep it moving instead of coming to a stop? And so those are the things. It's getting harder. There's more and more participation each year, more thousands and more people and everything, so you don't have a very long parade, very short time. So I appreciate everyone that gets involved and helps us out. Thank you very much for putting it all together. Thank you all.
I have just a couple other things. I want to thank Wayne Steele and Public Works, their crew. We so appreciate everything that they do for putting it together with all of the barricades up and down the street, coming in afterwards, taking all the barricades down, sweeping the street. Within a couple hours after the parade's over, you'd never know a parade took place. They do a great job of cleaning up. And then also for the police and fire departments, thank you so much, chiefs, for what you do. The first responders being out, always safety and control is paramount, and we appreciate you having your presence. Thank you.
This time I call up the CRA Director for a presentation.
I don't know if y'all, some of y'all are aware that we actually had a fundraiser that we were getting the old Centennial coins, and we were putting them together and selling ornaments. And we did this for the city. And when I talked to, and I'm going to have to call you Officer Wanda because I will not humiliate you, or I don't want to mutilate your last name. But anyway, the police department has a toy program for the kids, and so I wanted to do a fundraiser for them, and we did sell a lot of the coins, and we made ornaments out of them. And I do have a check here, if you could come up, Officer Wanda. We raised $271 for the Cops for Kids program for next year, and I wanted to present this to them today.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you to everybody that came up there.
Thank you, ma'am.
12A was pulled, so we'll move to 13, starting with Mayor Cadle. You have anything for us?
Yeah, just briefly to mention about the Belief Foundation, which is located street right behind Coney Island. That program has been helping at-risk students with academic mentoring, and it's been pretty much finances coming out of the pockets of people working the place. They've had a few fundraisers, and they have run out of the funds to keep this program going. And they're helping so many children that they've outgrown the storefront that they're in. And so they're really in a bad shape right now. And besides the things that they're offering with keeping kids' grades up after school program, they're offering GED classes. Several have already received their GED. And other benefits that they have, other agencies are referring students to them. There's no agency funding coming to them with the students and everything. So if you know of volunteers or any way that anybody may be able to financially help that organization. They've been doing a very good work, so just stop in and see those folks, and they'll point you in the right direction any way that you can help. Oh, and I wanted to mention, too, that we were all very excited about our Olympian, and she did lose a race today, I think, but the fact that we have an Olympian there in Korea is that it was very exciting. Hopefully that she'll be back this way sometime, that we can properly show her our appreciation for this great accomplishment she had by representing our country there. So that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Fairclough?
Nothing again this time.
Mr. Hayes?
Happy Valentine's Day.
What'd you give me?
Mr. Vaughn?
Ditto on Valentine's Day. The city and the city people, the best people in this world.
Thank you. Mr. Cox? Okay. Speaking of best people in the world, I would like to share with you a letter that I received concerning one of our employees, and I don't want to read the whole thing. It's fairly long, but basically, this individual who has authorized me to share this with everybody wrote and said that she had been trying to deal with a problem in the city for a while, and she was getting nowhere until she contacted Marty Lancaster from Code Enforcement. And she said Marty was able to track down the owners of the building. She contacted them, told them what the issues were, and got the property fixed. And she just wanted to say that Marty never gave up. She worked hard to fix it, blighting our community and a danger to many children, and she deserves commendation for what she has done. And so sometimes we get focused on things we don't like. We don't like what you did in the city. We don't like that or whatever. So when we receive one of these positive things, I like to share that with people. And I told the lady I would do that, and she couldn't be here tonight. So the only other thing that I would mention is that tomorrow at 2 o'clock there will be a joint meeting between the county commissioners and the city council concerning the CRA master plan, where we're going to discuss any differences we might have on that plan. It's a public meeting at Warriors Hall at 2 p.m. We didn't set the date or location. That was set by the convening body, and I know that's not convenient to a lot of people, but it's available to the public if you want to join us tomorrow. And having said that, we will move on to staff reports and recommendations. 14A, the first reading of ordinance 1633, red light cameras.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ordinance number 1633 reads by title. An ordinance of the City of Crestview, Florida, electing to implement the use of traffic infraction detectors within the city limits of Crestview, Florida, is authorized by Section 316-0088A Florida statutes, authorizing the police chief to implement the provisions of Florida law relating to the use of traffic infraction detectors within the city limits of Crestview, Florida, providing for severability, providing for repeal of all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 1633.
Does this need any explanation? If not, I'll kind of explain it. It's basically the chief of police is asking us to authorize, have a resolution saying that we would like to read the resolution again here. To have red light cameras in the city of Crestview. And at this time, I would take any comments or questions from the council. Any comments or questions? Okay, I have a couple of you, Chief, and then I'll make a statement afterwards. You know, you provided us with the crash statistics for Crestview,
Yes, sir.
and for the last year. And what I saw are 1,080 crashes. Only 9 were attributed to running a red light, which equates to 0.08%. So I'm not convinced that we have a running red light problem in Crestview, if your stats are correct.
I can refer you back to the survey that I had done about 2 years ago at 3 intersections on Highway 85.
If you're on mic, I can't hear you all over here. There you go.
Is that better?
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, it's on. I can refer you back to the let me find it here. The survey that I had done on 3 intersections about 2 years ago. This is how long I've been working on this project. And in a 16-hour period of time, if you discount the red light, right turn on red lights, at those intersections were 51 violations of red light running. Now, as I told you at our last meeting, when I provided you the stats, don't look for people cited or causation factors of red light running, because when we get there, everybody had a green light. And there's really no way for us to determine that. It might be, depending on the evidence at the scene, we could cite for careless driving or anything like that, but without the evidence, you just can't write that citation for running a red light. So, but if you'll also look at intersections, at that same statistics for last year, at intersections along 85, I believe it was, you have 34% of all crashes in the city were at intersections in State Road 85. There's some causation factors there somewhere. And I wouldn't say they were all red light runners, but it is a problem. I mean, every one of us get, especially at these 3 intersections we had surveyed, 90 and 85 happened to be the worst intersection. And we also had Redstone in 85 and in Walmart Road and 85. Those were the 3 that I had picked to do the survey at the time. But to me, that's a significant problem. I believe at the workshop, I had extrapolated that out over a period of time, and it was, if I remember my math right, it was over 27,000 citable violations in a year if you extrapolated that 16-hour period of time out. So I do feel like we have a need for this kind of system. And this is not just a red light enforcement system. It's a holistic approach, because drivers are more careful, they're more attentive to their driving, knowing that there's cameras on the road.
The stat you're talking about, over 27,000 violations, would lead me to my next question. They would require someone on your staff to review 500 violations per day. So I suspect that you then would have to come back and ask us for additional manning.
Well, as we talked about in the workshop, there's a secondary company called Roadwatch USA. They'll do a lot of vetting out for us and throw out the obvious things. These things are triggered by radar, so an 18-wheeler can trigger it, and it's required that these videos be reviewed. Before we send a citation, it has to be reviewed by a sworn officer. You're absolutely correct, but it actually boils down to. In our program, we're going to mirror it after the Gulf Breeze program. We won't be citing right turns on reds, okay, unless it's a really egregious violation, somebody taking the corner at a really high rate of speed or something like that. And in those cases, most of the time we'll be working a crash anyway. But that being said, it really boils down to probably about 12 to 15 videos a day that'll have to be reviewed and researched and citations being sent out.
You talk about the vetting process before it ever gets to the police, that the independent company would do that. Are you aware that there is a lawsuit that's gone up to the Florida Supreme Court challenging that? Of course, the first lawsuit, which threw out about 24,000 tickets, was because the independent company was issuing the tickets, which is violating state law. They can't do that.
No.
And so now what they've done is the company monitoring is dividing them up, saying, well, these we're going to send to the police because we think that they're a violation, they look like violations. These we don't think they are. And so that judgment's being challenged. Can you have an independent company making that judgment and saying these should go to the police and these shouldn't go to the police? We won't know the results of that. It's in front of the Supreme Court this week. But I guess one of my concerns is, in addition to that lawsuit, we have a bill in the House and a bill in the Senate that has gone through the look here, the The Senate bill has, I think, has one more committee, and the House bill has two more committees, and which would ban red lights in every municipality in Florida. And so, to me, it would be kind of unwise to go ahead with the program when we don't even know its future. We got a Supreme Court ruling coming out. We've got action by the legislature and the governor. To me, it would be incumbent upon us to wait until we see where the state is going on this before we spend any time and money on putting in a program that might get thrown out.
Well, let me kind of take one issue at a time. What's in front of the Supreme Court is you had two different decisions basically on programs that were monitored entirely by secondary companies, by vendors. Okay, they were conflicting decisions. The Supreme Court's deciding that right now. Doesn't matter what the decision on that is; it won't affect our program at all because it will be a sworn officer or looking at the videos before they send out those citations. Okay. Secondly, every year there's a challenge in the Senate and or the House, and every year it fails. There's only about 2 weeks left in the legislative section. If we pass the ordinance on first reading tonight and they decide to do away with it and the governor signs it, which is highly unlikely in my opinion, all the way across, but we just don't go to second reading on the ordinance and we don't put the thing in play. If we don't initiate it now, it puts us another month behind the program, initiating the program. Again, like I say, if the legislature decides that they don't want to permit red light cameras, which there's a discussion every single year between the House and the Senate.
Gets a little more support in the legislature. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I don't particularly like the state mandating what the city does. That's violating home rule. Mm-hmm. But they didn't call me and ask me if I like it or not. It comes up every year.
No,
and so,
exactly.
I just wonder if we should move
and
ahead.
if they were to vote it down, I think there's a 3-year sunset on it. I mean, obviously, if they vote it down, there's about 2 weeks left in the legislature. If they vote it down now, we just don't go to second reading on the ordinance, and we haven't lost any time on it. If they don't vote it down, which I anticipate they won't do, and I'm not sure the governor will sign it, and therefore, again, if they don't do away with it in the legislature, then we're okay. We'll just go to second reading in March.
Okay, Chief, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any other questions, comments, going to have action. You have a comment for the chief, or you want to make a motion?
Chief, correct me if I'm wrong. Every vehicle that goes through that intersection is not going to be photographed. Only the ones that are suspected of running a red light.
That's correct. And if you remember from the workshop, we actually had some video footage. Actually, the video didn't work, did it? We had some photos, and it's triggered by running the red light, and then everything at that point is monitored. Yeah, not every vehicle that goes to the intersection is photographed, and the photographs only cover the rear section of the vehicle and the tag number.
So then that would take out thousands, and the company is only going the company you spoke of that's going to review the photographs. They're going to look at every one and then report to you. Will you then have an officer to look at those to make sure?
Yes, every citation or every fraction that's sent out by us will have been reviewed by a sworn officer, reviewed and issued by a sworn officer.
And didn't you suspect that would take an hour or so a day?
Probably an hour or so a day, and it usually takes 3 to 5 minutes per video, and there's a process. If there's any question at all, it's thrown out. We don't issue a citation on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Hayes.
Just comment before we decide. And this morning, I was going up Furman, and at the intersection of 90, I know 2 cars ran the red light there. The day before, this afternoon, I was down to the pharmacy, Walgreens, and 2 cars ran it there. It's now where you have to drive defensively. I do not go out when the light turns green automatically because of what I observed. the number of accidents that we have on Ferdinand, I knew for a while there, it was every day. Every day I turned on and I saw Ken and he was at an accident, somewhere along Ferdinand. For our citizens' safety, as well as we're here to protect our citizens as much as possible. I think this is good. If we find out it's not working, then we can always rescind. From what I'm seeing from the state now, I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but that's possible. I'm not down there at the state, but I've been down there last couple weeks, and nobody's really talking about this that much, except for maybe the person who wants to present it. But that wasn't an issue that was really discussed. We were more on home rule and things like that. So with that, I think it would be beneficial to our citizens for their safety if we initiate this. That's all, Mr. President.
If I may add a comment to you, Mr.
Go ahead.
The Florida Police Chiefs Association and the Florida Police Cities, this is supporting these programs, are rallying against the repeal of the program is high on both agendas. So, I mean, I just don't think it's going to go anywhere. It never has, as much discussion as it gets.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
As soon as Mr. Blocker, Mr. Cox, I'd have another comment.
You have any?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Carter.
I think that camera would be a little bit of deterrent to some of these young race drivers in the hub city. I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Mr. Fairclough?
Chief Taylor, I think there's a perception, at least from the few people I've talked to about it, in the community, that this is just something else that Crestview wants to do to make a boatload of money. And I've tried to explain to them that Crestview's not going to get all the money. Do you have a breakdown of how a fine would be divvied up?
I believe it's 52% of the fine goes to the state of Florida. The rest of it does stay locally. It pays for the program and everything to do with the program. This is designed to be a revenue neutral and cost neutral program. If there are residual funds, I'm recommending we set up an enterprise fund for public safety equipment or programs, things like that.
Does the county get any of it?
No.
Thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead, Chief.
This is, the red light program is a holistic approach. It just makes people more attentive to their driving, in addition to everything else. But we're also attacking this from another angle. We're launching an initiative called Food from the Fuzz, where and you're fixing to see a publicity campaign on that, whereby we'll be stopping people for great driving habits and we're partnering with Papa Murphy's Pizza. He's giving away free pizzas. So we'll be, see somebody that meets a certain level of points, we stop you. You can opt out of the program, by the way, if you don't want to be participant. Who's going to turn down a free pizza? Okay, but anyway, if we observe the good driving behavior on several points, we pull the car over to registration, the driver's license, and the insurance is in order, we give you a coupon for a free pizza. So we're actually trying to think outside the box here.
Just one more thing.
Hey, go ahead.
Isn't the fine for running a red light set by the state?
For a state, for uniform traffic citation, it is, and I believe it's $228 now, $260. $260.
And Crestview has
No, actually,
how
most of
much
that
it's
money is
gonna
divvied up between here and Tallahassee. We get very little back on any state citations we issue.
For this program, it's a discount, $158.
Exactly.
It is.
And this is not reported to your insurance
And you don't get any
companies and
points on
driver
your-
license bureau. So,
Ms. Cox, you had something? Or not? No? Okay. I need action by the council then, please.
Mr. President,
Yes, go ahead, Ms.
I move to adopt ordinance 1633 on first reading and move to second reading.
Second.
Have motion second to look at my to adopt ordinance 1633 on first reading and move to second reading. Any other discussion besides mine? Okay. I have to put in a few statistics here. And that is, right now, there are 60 lawsuits across the state of Florida over these red light cameras. Estimated $200 million in challenge fines hangs in the balance if the Supreme Court rules against them. Of the 412 cities we have in Florida, only 60 or 15% of our cities have these cameras. Nationwide, there are only 422 cities across the whole United States that have these. Those who have experimented with them in Pinellas County, South Pasadena has terminated their program. Gulfport has terminated their program. St. Petersburg has terminated their program. Kansas City has terminated their program. Oldsmar has terminated their program. Boca Raton has terminated their program. Palm Beach County has terminated their program, as well as Margate, Hollandale Beach, Coral Springs, and on the 14th of December, Miami. In my mind, there has to be some reason why these cities are abandoning the program. So I'll leave that out there.
Mr. President, if I
Yeah,
may
go ahead,
address
Mr.
your
Hayes.
question. One of the reasons being they're dropping the program because they met the purpose that they were intended to do, and there was no need for, if you research it.
And you research that and found out from all these cities I just listed?
Not all those cities, sir, but I know of some cities did, mainly Tallahassee was one of them. They reached their goal and reduced the red light running so much, they saw it was not a necessity for it. And some of the cities down south, that's why they did it.
Or the company giving the ticket wasn't making the money that they expected before. Because they're the ones that determine whether you keep the program or not. If they're not making money, they don't stay in your city.
I don't know, I didn't research that part.
Well, that's the gentleman told us at the workshop. I mean, he said if it ever got to the point he wasn't making money, he'd have to pull out.
That means nobody's running red lights. Okay.
Maybe. Okay, anyway. Any other discussion? Go to voting, please. The motion carries 4-1 with me being the dissent. And moving right along, we go to ordinance 1634, storage and temporary use of recreational vehicles. First reading.
Mr. President, ordinance number 1634 reads by title. An ordinance of the City of Crestview, Florida, providing for authority, providing for purpose, providing findings of fact, providing for the amendment of Part 2 Code of Ordinance of Crestview, Florida, Chapter 102, Land Use Regulations, Article 22, Mobile and Manufactured Housing, providing for the repeal of Section 102-537, House Cars and Camp Trailers used for living and sleeping purposes prohibited except in licensed trailer park, and Section 102-538, storage of camp trailers, other types of house trailers, providing for the addition of Section 102-537, outside storage of recreational vehicles, Section 102-538, temporary use of recreational vehicles, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of all ordinances or part of ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 1634.
In English.
Back with your favorite subject. And since we went line by line detail during the workshop, I would offer that we could simply go through the items that were not clear in the workshop, or if you want me to go verbatim through section 102, 537, and 538. So
I would say that we would just address the items we asked you to.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, gentlemen?
Okay. So in section 102, 537, the outside storage of recreational vehicles, there was no changes in item A, B, C, or D. There was one question in item E, outside storage of recreational vehicles, and the question was to utilize the word appurtenances, which simply means a subordinate entity. And it's such a confusing word that actually the Supreme Court in Michigan in 1919 actually had a ruling on the definition of this word. It was my suggestion or wish that we use the word utility apparatus, which is a more understandable version by the general public, which means that Item 2, E2 would read, recreational vehicles shall not be connected to any water or sanitary sewer line or utility apparatus except as provided in section 102, 538.
Okay.
If that is agreeable. And the next item in 102, 538, temporary use of recreational vehicles, item A, 6, is the insertion of any potable water connection to the recreational vehicle must be completed under the regulations and inspections of Public Services Department and must have the required backflow prevention device installed prior to use. In turn, by inserting item 6 became item 7, but its verbiage was not changed. And that is the status of your new ordinance 1634.
Comments, questions? I think we got what we asked for, right? Then could I have action, please?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Davies.
I move to adopt ordinance 1634 on the first reading and move to second reading.
Second.
I have motion second to adopt ordinance 1634 on first reading and move to second reading. Any further discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Plunkett.
I've had contact with 9 different people that this applies to. Personally, I am not acceptable to part of the verbiage in this ordinance, whatever we're trying to come out here. Some of these people here had worked their entire working life to provide a place to get in out of the weather. Some of these people is medically retired. Some of these people, and 80% of these people, is on a fixed income. They have a little trailer, mobile home, travel trailer, what you want to call it. And now here the city is passing a law evicting them out of their home, no place to go, no financial, no nothing. So personally, I am against 90% of this verbiage in this intended ordinance or resolution.
Any other comments? Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Plunkett.
I don't understand the councilman's statement of evicting from their home. That's confusing.
When that's all you got, and you prohibited from living in it, what you call it?
Any other comments? Okay. Call for a vote, please. And the motion carries 4-1. Councilman Blocker dissenting. Thank you. Okay, I think you're going to talk to us about board membership
Yes, sir.
considerations.
Yes, sir. One of the boards that is going to need some attention is the CRA Buildings Improvement Grant Review Board. This is a board in which the 5-member board with the appointment of the city council. And on that board, there exists a representative from your Main Street Crestview Association, a representative from the Historic Preservation Board, the CRA Program Director, and 2 citizens. Currently on that board, today, we have Ellis Connor, who is the chairman. And keep in mind, these nominations can roll over, the terms roll, unless sometimes the board wishes to have a new nominee on it. So Mr. Connor has been chairman there for the past couple of terms. The position that the Main Street Association representative in the past has been Patty Gonzo, which was a very diligent member there. That position will be filled by Sandra Wilson. Your CRA director, where Brenda Smith was, will now be Allison Burleson. The Historic Preservation Board member had passed away, so we are awaiting a nomination from their board. They have just had some new changes to their board, so that we will wait until their board is settled and have there. But I would like to introduce you to a young man whom I was brought to you a few moments ago in order to introduce. He has come forward. He is retired from the service. He has a master's degree in business administration. He is anxious to have something to do. He's lived in Crestview 12, 13 years now, and he is anxious to service the citizens. We actually want to nominate him for 2 boards, which will not conflict with each other. The Grants Review Board and our Board of Adjustment will not counter each other, so he could legitimately serve on both those boards. As you know, the Board of Adjustment is an as-needed board. Sometimes you may have a meeting one time a year. There's been years when you've had none, and there's been years when you've had 3 or 4. So, Mr. Silas, Charles is here if you would like to get to know him a little better, a little bit more of his qualifications. I know it's very difficult to meet and talk with each one of you individually, so if you would like to hear a little bit from him before making your decision for the Grants Review Board and the Board of Adjustment.
Yeah, please have him come
So,
up.
Charles, if you want to come brag on yourself a little bit.
Charles Salis, 154 Cabana Way. How you doing? So, I'm 34 years old. I live here in District 2 in Crestview and Ridgecrest Estates. I have a wife, 3 boys. I have a master's in business administration, a master's in healthcare management, an undergraduate degree in business, and an undergraduate degree in criminal justice. I served in the Air Force for 8 years before I was injured and medically retired out. I've served as a correction officer, a DAF police officer at Eglin Air Force Base, and I'm currently a volunteer firefighter with the Hope Fire Department. I'm also the founder and the pastor of Bright Futures Ministries, which is a ministry that we focus on helping people with immediate emergencies, as in 1 or 2 nights in 1 or 2 nights in hotels, clothes, food on Sundays. We hand out bag lunches on Sunday because there's no church that handles that right now. We hand out toiletry bags, just the things that the homeless in our area need right now.
Oh, that's great. Anybody have any comments? That's fantastic.
I'm sorry, could you spell your last name, please?
Salis, S-A-L-I-S.
Okay.
And Mr. President, I've had a couple meetings with Mr. Salis, and he has some great ideas, some things, extraordinary things he's going to be trying in the future, that some of the problems that we are facing in Crestview now, that he's working on some great ideas for that. That's good.
Mr. President.
Yeah, go ahead.
You've heard of overqualification? I don't know if this gentleman meets that standard yet, but I'm impressed just by his educational background. So that shows that he utilizes his brain for something besides videos. So I would welcome him and look forward to working with him on whenever possible. So I would definitely support him.
Mr. President,
Yes.
from what little bit I've heard about this gentleman, I wholeheartedly recommend it and tell him you've got a challenge, my friend. We welcome you to our city.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You do sound very, very qualified, and I'm sure we'll have no problem utilizing you. What's the process? Does he have to be nominated by a council member, the mayor, or?
No, it's a consensus, as these, grant, thank you, Charles. Okay. The members are actually nominated with the board as a whole. So it's a consensus among the board in order to place him to work.
Right. We have a consensus, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Let's get him before he realizes what he's done.
Yeah, come on now, that's not nice. All right,
Thank you, gentlemen, for your
thank you.
support.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Cox.
Question on, Ellis Connor is on the board, he's chair, so the
He's the
opening-
chairman, he's the chairman of the review board.
As a citizen, and then I'm correct that the remaining opening is
Is
from the
citizen.
Historic Preservation Board?
Yes, there will be one from the Historic Preservation Board representative, which they choose who that is, and we'll do that. Uh-huh. We did have an honorary member from the Carver Hill Museum. It is outside the scope of the actual criteria of the board. Now, if it is the board's wish that that be continued, we need to alter the setup of the board itself. It's just, it's up to the board whether or not they would like to continue, but in order to do that, you're going to have to alter the criteria of the grant review board's policies and procedures.
I would think we'd want to do that. We would welcome any citizen once again involved. So
Okay.
bring us what changes we need.
Okay. Well, then I would ask that you go for a 7-member board instead of a 6-member board. If you're going to include a Carver Hill Museum representative, I would suggest that you include another citizen appointee in order to have 7 members on your board instead of a
I'd go
6.
Even, yeah, I see what you're
Okay.
saying.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
President.
We shall return it back to you.
All right, good enough.
What happens if a tie comes?
And that concludes 14A. No, I'm sorry, 14C.
C.
C.
All right, D.
Okay, D. Item D is I would like to request the scheduling of a special meeting for February 26th. We have a group of annexation ordinances that we would like to present, and then would like to immediately follow that with the workshop concerning the procedures and rules of the charter and how the board and the city could educate the public and still fall within the guidelines that are approved.
So that's our normal workshop date.
That's your normal
You were asking to
workshop.
have a special meeting before the workshop.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to be the workshop. Anybody have any objections to having a special meeting before the workshop?
Workshop is at 5:30 or 5?
It begins at 5:30,
Yeah.
so we're asking for the special meeting to begin at 5:30. And when the special meeting concludes, it just flows into a workshop. The
then
workshop would begin as soon after 5:30 as possible.
I mean, you said it was a one-topic workshop, right?
Yes, one topic. It'll be several entities, but the topic is annexations.
No, not
Actually,
special meeting, the workshop.
Oh, the workshop is just the charter.
Yep, okay, just want to be sure.
Okay,
Don't bite off too much.
yeah. Well, we
Okay.
figure in that, that between the two, you're going to have a good couple of hours, so.
All right. Thank you. Is that it?
That's it from me.
All right, I'd like to see if we have any inputs from our city clerk.
I have nothing. Just remind everybody, 2 o'clock tomorrow.
All right, city attorney,
I don't have
you gonna be there tomorrow? No, I'll be sure. Okay. Mr. Steele, you have anything for us?
No, sir, Mr. President, thank you.
All right, Chief Taylor?
Yeah, I would like to commend City Attorney Ben Holly on the work he did on the ordinance, on the red light cameras. It did an amazing job. He actually caught some flaws in other ordinances around the state. So we were able to correct them, and actually our ordinance will be the model ordinance if it's passed on second reading.
Ray, you have anything for us?
No, sir, thank you.
Chief, Tony, too?
No, sir, I don't have anything.
Teresa, you have anything else for us?
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. Okay, we have comments from the audience. I have one card up here. That's all right, I'll take you after this card. And Mr. Salas, you wanted to come up? Okay, all right. Ma'am, if you come up and give us your name and address.
My name is Laverne Blount, and I just want to know where I can get a copy of Ordinance 1634. You got it?
Yeah, it's online in the packet of tonight's information. It's already
Okay.
posted on the website.
Thank you.
Can you get it that way?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Thank you.
if you can't. But I'm glad you came up because, you know, we do offer an option to people that can't come to the meeting. They can submit something in writing. And I had a citizen contact me on Facebook and engaged in a back and forth with me about the RVs. And I invited her to come tonight, and she said, well, I can't do it because of my work schedule or whatever, but she gave me permission to share her remarks. And so we voted on the RV ordinance for the first time. It's not final until the second time. So her remarks are still appropriate in terms of giving her input. And her input was